If you're a parent, you know the feeling. That moment when your sweet little kid looks you right in the eye and says something that just stings. Today, we're going to unpack why that talking back happens. And you'll see, it's almost never about disrespect. It's actually a sign of something incredible happening inside them. And there it is. That's the line, isn't it? A sentence so sharp it can just stop you in your tracks. It feels personal. It feels defiant. It feels, well, infuriating. But what if I told you that the feeling inside your child's brain is totally different from the feeling it creates in yours?
This right here is the heart of it all. What we feel, what feels like a personal attack, is actually, for them, just a clumsy, messy, and totally necessary experiment in what it means to be a human being. So let's break down how that experiment really works. To really get this, we have to understand the journey they've been on since they were born. There's this huge shift that happens, a move from being a little echo to becoming their own independent voice.
Think about it. For the first few years, our kids are in what you could call echo mode. They talk like us, they like the foods we like, they even borrow our opinions. It makes sense, right? It's a safe way to exist in a world that's just so big and confusing. They are, for a while, kind of an extension of us. But that phase, it has an expiration date, because deep inside them, a biological clock starts ticking. Development has its own agenda, and a powerful internal drive starts to push for something brand new. So, what is this new agenda? It's the birth of a self, the development of an I that is totally separate from you. And this isn't just a quirky phase, it's one of the most critical stages of growing up. And there's actually a name for this whole messy process. The famous psychologist Erik Erikson called it initiative versus guilt. This is that moment when kids feel this deep biological need to assert their own will, to see if they can make things happen. And how we respond, well, that can either give them a sense of purpose or a sense of guilt for even trying. So when they're arguing, when they're shouting no, it's not just random. It's their way of asking this huge, fundamental question. They're testing the waters. They're asking, am I a real person with my own thoughts? Or am I only okay when I'm just a copy of you? So this is the big reframe. We hear, I don't respect you. But what they're clumsily trying to ask is there room for me, the real me, in this family? Is my I allowed to show up here? It changes everything when you hear it that way, doesn't it?
But it's not just a psychological thing. Oh no, there is a very real physical reason why these first attempts at independence are so, well, rude. It's because their brain is literally under construction. The key player here is the prefrontal cortex. You can think of it as the brain's CEO. It's in charge of self-control, good judgment, and thinking ahead. And in a young child, well, that CEO is basically a new intern who's still learning where the coffee machine is. It's just not fully online yet. And that leads us to this massive mismatch. They have this huge, growing impulse to disagree, to have their own ideas. What they don't have is the delicate, fragile skill to do it with any kind of tact or respect. The impulse shows up years before the skill to manage it.
Let's make this super clear with a quick story. Imagine a 6-year-old, let's call her Maya. She's on the floor, deep in her own world, building this amazing Lego castle. To her, it's everything. Then, her dad calls out a totally reasonable request. For him, it's just a piece of information. But for Maya, it's like a wrecking ball just crashed into her universe. His world is about to completely demolish hers. So, this is what comes out. Now, to her dad, those words, always, ruin, everything, that feels like a massive, ungrateful overreaction. It sounds like pure defiance.
But if we put on our developmental decoder glasses, we can translate. She doesn't have the brain wiring to say it politely. That big, loud no is really just a desperate, clumsy way of saying, hey, my world here is real and it's important to me. Can you please just see it before you erase it?
Okay, so understanding all this is one thing, but our reaction in that moment, that's where the rubber meets the road. Because how we respond can either guide them toward becoming a respectful person, or it can trap the whole family in a really negative pattern. There's actually a name for this downward spiral. Researchers call it the coercive cycle. It's this toxic feedback loop where a simple request can explode into a huge fight, and it can quickly become the main way a family communicates. Here's how it works. It's super simple. Step 1, we make a request. Step 2, the child resists. And step 3, this is the crucial one. How we react.
That reaction is what decides if the whole thing spirals out of control. And we tend to fall into two main traps here. One, we escalate. We shout louder, we punish harder. We might get them to comply, but we're teaching fear, not respect. Or two, we back down. We just give in. And when we do that, we accidentally teach them that arguing and yelling are super effective ways to get what they want.
And the stakes here are really high. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but studies show that when families get stuck in these loops over and over, it can actually lead to long-term behavioral problems. So a normal developmental phase can become something much more serious based on our response. But here's the hopeful part, the really good news. A child's brain is incredibly plastic. It's like wet cement. These patterns are not set in stone. In fact, these messy years are a massive opportunity, an opportunity to help wire their brain for respect and cooperation. Which leaves us with the big question, the real challenge for all of us. This isn't about letting kids run the show. The boundaries are absolutely essential. The trick, and the opportunity, is to figure out how we can hold that line firmly and kindly, while also protecting and making space for that new, separate, and vital person who is so desperately trying to show up.
Ah, yes, the classic. You hear this, and it's like a little alarm bell starts ringing in your head, doesn't it? It feels like a direct hit on your authority. But today, we're going to try and reframe this. This isn't just a challenge. It's the clumsy, kind of messy start of a kid learning to have their own voice. It's actually the beginning of a crucial lesson.
All right, so let's get right to the core of this whole thing. We often get stuck because we treat respect and obedience as the exact same thing. And, well, that's a trap.
I mean, think about it. Our default setting is pretty simple, right? If they do what I say, good, they respect me. If they push back, bad, they don't. But this view is just too black and white. It totally misses the incredibly complex world that's going on inside a child's mind and nervous system.
And this just lays it all out so perfectly. A kid might obey you in a heartbeat because they trust you, which is exactly what we want. Or they could obey because they're just plain terrified of conflict, of being humiliated. On the other side of the coin, they might talk back because they genuinely don't care, or, and this is the big one, because they care so much, but they literally don't have the skills to disagree without it all blowing up.
And here's the thing. Developmentally, this is literally their job. The psychologist Erickson called it the initiative stage. Kids are supposed to argue, to test ideas, to push back. Our job isn't to crush that spark of initiative. It's to build a container for it. If you shut it all down, you risk raising a passive kid. But if you have no limits at all, they feel totally unsafe.
So that really hits home, doesn't it? The opposite of disrespect is not a kid who just silently obeys. So if that's not what we're aiming for, what is the actual goal here?
Well, the goal is something so much more powerful, something so much more useful for their entire lives. It's the skill of respectful dissent.
This is what we're aiming for. The ability to say no, to have a different opinion, to stand your ground, but to do it in a way that doesn't just burn the whole relationship down. And let's be clear, this is a skill. It has to be actively taught and modeled. You can't just demand it.
So where does this teaching happen? It's not in some big, special, let's sit down and have a talk moment. No, it happens right there in the trenches, in the messy, everyday moments, right at the bedroom door when it's time for bed, or at the table when they're deep into their Legos. These are our classrooms.
Okay, so if that's the goal, how in the world do we get there? Let's talk about a new response, a practical way to actually build this skill.
And the first move, you might not expect this. It actually starts with us, the adults. A child's sharp words can hit us right where we're most tired and frustrated. Sometimes the most respectful thing you can do for the relationship is to say, you know what, I'm too angry to talk right now, and just take a beat before you react.
This is so important. We can't teach a child how to manage their big emotions if we can't manage our own. Think of it this way. Self-regulation is a team project, and our capacity as the adult, that sets the thermostat for the whole room. It really does set the ceiling for what's possible in that moment.
So, once we've got ourselves regulated, here's a super practical 4-step tool. First up, acknowledge what's going on for them. See it from their world. Wow, you really don't want to stop building right now. Step 2, name the line. You validate the feeling, but you hold the boundary on the behavior. It is totally okay to feel angry. It is not okay to shout at me. Then, step 3, you offer them a better tool. You literally hand them the words you want them to use. Try it again. Say, Dad, I just need 1 more minute. And finally, step 4, you follow through calmly on the actual limit.
So what you're doing with these 4 steps is you're sending 2 powerful messages at the exact same time. The first is, I see you. Your feelings, your wishes, they're real and they're allowed here. And the second message is, and at the same time, I'm the parent. There are still non-negotiable boundaries in this house. It's being firm without being mean.
Now, why bother with all this work in the heat of the moment? Well, let's zoom out for a second, because what we're really shaping in these tiny, frustrating moments is the voice they will need for the rest of their lives.
I mean, just look at this progression. It's so powerful. The exact same defiant energy that shows up as "you can't make me" when they're 6. That is the raw material, the same energy they will need to say, "I'm not getting in that car" at 16, or "this relationship isn't healthy for me" at 26. Our job isn't to crush that energy, it's to help them refine it and aim it.
So you can see there are really 3 paths here, 3 different outcomes depending on how we respond. If we meet them with punishment and shame, that voice just goes underground. It leads to secrecy. If we indulge every single whim, that voice can grow into entitlement. But if we meet them with guidance, with clear limits, that voice refines into something incredible, real courage and real respect.
And that brings us right back to the real goal here, doesn't it? We're not trying to raise robots who just follow orders. We are raising human beings who need to navigate a really complex world. So the goal isn't simple obedience. It's this far more valuable thing, courage paired with connection.
So here it is, a final, practical thought to take with you. The next time you're in that frustrating moment, when the talking back starts, instead of seeing rebellion, just pause and ask yourself this one question. What is this young person's nervous system actually trying to do right now?
And when you ask that, you realize that the answer is, well, it's usually not some grand act of defiance. They're just trying to keep control of something that really matters to them. Or they're testing to see if their big, stormy feelings are safe.